Hi, everyone. We have started recording this session just as a heads up for everyone. My name is Meryl Stromberg. I am the community director for Hinman College. So myself and Junior are going to be doing this presentation today. And then if you have any questions, feel free to either, well, your best bet honestly is to put them in the chat and then we can answer them. But yeah, we're going to get started and I'm going to hand it over to Junior.
All right, there we go. Thank you so much for that, Meryl. Howdy and good afternoon, y'all. My name is Junior DeAugust. I am the RD over at Broome Hall for Newing College. My pronouns they, them, their. As already mentioned before by Meryl in the beginning of this, please scan the QR code for your attendance. This will really help us know that you've been here. But without further ado, let's get the show on the roll. So you're all here for the student staff selection position starting up for 2023 and 2024. So all of you have already filled out the application, or if not, you're here to get more information on that. So this is what the purpose of this is, so we can better inform you, so you to know what to do when you go forward with the process. So our agenda here, as mentioned, both Meryl and myself work for Residential Life. So we'll be going over the Office of Residential Life. Following that, we'll be talking about the student staff positions. We'll be explaining to you both all the application process as well as the selection process. And then lastly, we'll leave everything off for our Q&A. So as mentioned before by Meryl, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them up in the chat. And by the end, if you are comfortable for doing so, you can turn on your camera or you put your mic on and ask us questions, but please hold off on your questions if it's audible at the end of our presentation. So the Office of Residential Life has a mission statement, and our mission statement is pretty much what you could see here. So I'm not going to read that all towards you, but it will explain that our overall mission is to make sure that with our institution, we're really focusing that this is your home away from home. We want you to be successful in every matter of the way. And this also goes for those who are applying for this position. If you are an RA right now, or someone who is applying to be as an RA, like all of you who are here, we want to make sure that you have the ability to be successful, not only in your academic pursuits, but for your personal and well-being development, your interpersonal skills, and many other things. And with that, the Bearcats here, this is your home away from home, as I said. So we really want to be able to support you as you learn, grow, and go through many transitions at your time here at Binghamton. So the student staff opportunities that you're all looking for, the employment dates will be starting of August 2023 and May 2024. So that's next academic year. And with that, we have 3 live-in residential positions available, which is the student support assistant position, the community assistant, as well as the apartment assistant. So with these 3 positions, you would be able to live on campus and do the great work of providing towards your residents and overall empowering people here in the Binghamton University. So we're going to be going over the responsibilities for these positions. And right over here, we have the student support assistant. And as I mentioned before, I'm not going to read off every single bullet point, but I will emphasize in the parts of it. So over here, we have with the student support assistant, you are expected to work approximately 20 hours a week. And with that, your role is really much helping the students navigate through those interpersonal relationships, as we mentioned before. So helping the residents know how to have these tough conversations, or even the simple conversations, such as helping them with roommate mediation, really sitting down and helping these students work through knowing how to be able to live together as opposed towards being friends with each other. You would also be working on other aspects as being on call and in-person duty shifts from the coverage of 8 p.m. to midnight and to midnight to 8 a.m. and responding to other situations that would allow you to collaborate with other members of our organizations, such as the DEEP and MSW interns, such as in situations with mental health crises, student distress things, and any kind of facility issues. And lastly, you will be doing some things like the assisting with the co-recs and any other activities and events. As for the community assistant, you would also be doing 20 hours per week. You will be working pretty much more in the aspects of traditional and implementing events. such as participating in the Be Welcome moments that we have here on campus. It's new student orientation, U Fest, and you'll be also interacting with your residents through periodically connecting with them through moments such as actual engagement and actually checking up on them and having these one-on-one interactions or more of a group dynamic setting. And then you'll be doing things like providing weekly office hours to be able to complete administrative tasks that is needed for us to be able to function properly. But the best part I always like to emphasize is like the building decoration. So if you like being creative, you want to get involved, you want to put some designs such as making the door decks and the door tags and the ways that the students really feel welcome, since these are the first people that you will be meeting and they will be the first people, you'll be the first people they be meeting when they come to campus. It's a nice way to welcome them. And lastly, the last live-in position that we have is the apartment assistant. This is also a 20 hours per week position. And to really best emphasize it, it's a kind of a hodgepodge between everything. So it's a hodgepodge or a mixture between the student support position as well as the community assistant position, where you'll be developing a welcoming environment for your residents by making these door tags and whatnot. You'd also be doing the on-call hours and being an in-person shift situation, but you will also be working on the educational aspects and also helping your residents know how to be able to handle and work through conflict resolutions. And as we mentioned before, with the student support assistant, navigating through those interpersonal relationships and mediation practices. So the qualifications that you're gonna need to be able to apply for this position, what we have listed off is the following. So required is full-time undergraduate student for the fall 2023 academic year. So that means you will be in full-time status, so 12 credits or more here in Binghamton University. You will be taking classes. You're in good standing with the Office of Student Conduct. So that pretty much means, you know, your name is not anywhere where it's warrant of concern or whatnot. Going with that, we would have a preference for a cumulative GPA of 2.5 or higher. I want to mention that this is a preference, but we also know that some things happen and whatnot, but this is one of the standards and the things that we consider having our RAs towards. Nonetheless, if you are a first-year student and a transfer student, you could be able to put in NA or not applicable as we're waiting for your fall grades to come on in.
Okay, so we're going to talk about compensation for each of these positions next. So for our student support assistants and our community assistants, you'll have an on-campus room. You may be assigned to a single room or a double room. If you're in a double room, you might have a roommate in certain situations. It varies by community because some of the physical layouts of our communities allow for a roommate. So in certain situations, if you're in a single room, then there's that. In our apartments community, you'll be in a single bedroom and sharing the apartment with 3 to 5 other residents. So our apartments hold up to 4 to 6 people. So just keep that in mind. If you are in an apartment situation or a situation where you're going to have a roommate, you will have the option to room with friends. So you won't necessarily be assigned a random roommate if that's not what you want. So you're all here, which is great. If you have not applied for the positions yet, you need to do so by Tuesday, November 22nd at 12 p.m. To do so, you'll need to go on to Handshake and then complete the Google form that goes along with that. There's a variety of questions and it's only one Google form. So if you want to apply for all 3 positions, go for it. We certainly encourage it. It's just that one form. In addition to the application, you need a current resume. So you can visit the Fleischman Career Resource Center if you need help with a resume. If you're in CIW or Hinman, you can visit your Reese's if you want help within your community. And then the other thing that's super important is that you need a reference. So it's a professional reference, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means in just a moment. But the reference is also due Tuesday, November 22nd at 12 p.m. It's also a Google form. That link can be found in the application. It's your responsibility as the applicant to send that Google form to your reference and to make sure that your reference has completed it on time. So if you wait until Monday to fill out the application, it might be a little difficult for your reference to have enough time to complete the reference form. So just keep that in mind. So what is a professional reference? It's someone who can speak to your skills directly, someone who has worked with you in a leadership capacity or in a work capacity. So a professor, an employer, an advisor, or coach, someone who can speak to your skills for the position. So it shouldn't be a friend of a friend or something like that. It cannot be a relative. That is an absolute no-go. We've had some folks who have asked, can it be someone that I'm on e-board with? If you're on an e-board for a club or an organization, it can be, so long as that person, again, can speak to your skills. So again, because we have so many people applying for the position, we're not going to be able to let you know if your reference completed the Google form. But if you have an incomplete reference, or if your reference does not qualify, so if you originally wrote down a family member or a guardian, we will reach out to you so that way you can complete your application correctly. So some of our different housing options, if you're new to campus or if you're unsure of what they are, we have chem-free quiet living, transfer living, independent living, which is at our apartments community, first year housing, our health and wellness community, and our learning communities. So please keep in mind that on the application, you can either select, no, I don't want to live in this kind of community, it's optional, or it's required. If it's required for you, that means that it's absolutely necessary, because if we don't have a spot in there, a student staff position in there in that community, then we might not be able to hire you. Also, something to keep in mind is that not every community has these housing options, and they're not necessarily coinciding with each other. For example, you might not be able to live in somewhere that's chem-free and quiet living. So just keep that in mind when you're filling out the application. So again, just as an overview for the selection process timeline, applications are due November 22nd at 12 p.m. That's also when your reference is due. In mid-December, we will email applicants if they are selected for an interview. That will go to your Binghamton email, so you want to keep an eye out for that. Around January 10th through the 13th is when interviews on campus will be happening. So you'll be coming back before the semester starts for on-campus interviews. And then late February, early March is when applicants will be notified if they've been hired or not. So now that you've submitted your application, what do you do next? The committee will be reviewing the content of your application, your resume, and your reference. Like Junior mentioned earlier, we will be checking grades at the end of the semester. And we'll also be checking if anyone has any active conduct cases or what conduct records look like. Pending all of that, you'll be notified via email if you're offered an interview, and then you'll get more information about scheduling that interview, when exactly you need to come back, things like that. So another thing to keep in mind, and you might want to scan this QR code so you can have the link for later, is business casual dress. So for the interview, you should be dressing business casual. Our Fleischman Career Resource Center has different resources on their website as to what it means to dress business casual. So if you're unsure of what that means, their website and their office is a really great resource for that. So what to expect during your individual interviews. Again, they're going to happen on either the 10th and or the 11th, depending on how it goes. There'll be about 45 to 60 minutes with 3 different sections. There will be a professional staff member and a current RA in each section to ask the questions. There'll be general interview questions to get to know you and revolve around residential life as a whole. It doesn't matter what position you applied for, whether it's community assistant, student support assistant, or the apartments assistant. Everyone goes through the same individual interview. And again, we'll let you know via email when and where that will be. For the group interviews, those will be January 12th and the 13th. There will be 2 group interviews, one for the community assistant and then one for the student support assistant. Like Junior said earlier, the apartments assistant is basically a combination of those 2 positions. And so anyone who applies for the apartments assistant position will need to go through both interviews. There will be one professional staff member in the room, as well as current RAs and other applicants in the room, and you'll know the time and location closer to January. The student support assistant interview will be mock resident scenarios, and the community assistant interview will be a 3 to 5 minute elevator pitch about the position. So in summary, applications are due no later than Tuesday, November 22nd at 12 p.m. Put an alarm in your calendar so you don't forget. The reference form is also due at that time. There's 3 different positions available, and I'm going to click to our next slide because that has our contact information on it. If you have any questions, please email us rlselection@binghamton.edu. And then if you also go to the Residence Life webpage, you can look at more information about the positions. We have an FAQ page on there if you have any questions or anything like that. I'm going to pause there for just a moment. I see we have some questions in the chat, and we will go from there. So on the Zoom call with us, we have Adam. Adam is the assistant director for both Mountain View and Dickinson communities. Yes, I got that right. So he's going to be going through some of the questions in the chat and answer them that way. There's other professional staff members on the call. So if you see a professional staff member on the call that you know and you want to send them a direct message, that's fine too. I know some people got on the call late, so I'm going to jump back to the first slide. So if you did not get to scan the QR code, you can have the opportunity to do that now.